Hello students and welcome to my YouTube channel. I hope you have already seen the labor cost theory part. Now we are going to do the practical illustration related with the labor cost. After the illustration, we will solve or attempt the quiz. So please do like and subscribe my channel. Thank you. Concept of overtime. In case of overtime, we would like to present one illustration and then continue with the example. So we can start with this illustration. That illustration number 1 is computation and accounting of the overtime. Now a company's basic wage rate is rupees 1.50 per hour and its overtime rates are, in case of evening, time plus 1/3 time, and weekends means Saturday or Sunday, like double the time. During a year, following hours were worked. Normal time 2,20,000 hours. इसका मतलब ये हुआ नॉर्मल टाइम में 2,20,000 hours मल्टीप्लाइड बाय 1.50 पर आवर होगा. इवनिंग टाइम में 20,000 आवर्स है जो ओवर टाइम किया हुआ है, तो इवनिंग में ओवर टाइम करने के लिए टाइम प्लस 1/3 टाइम. सो टाइम का जितना भी पैसा मिलता है दैट इज 1.50 और उसका 1/3, 1.50 का 1/3 कितना आता है 50 पैसा, मतलब इट विल बिकम 2 रुपीज. वी कैन से दैट. सो इवनिंग में 2 रुपीज ओवर टाइम होगा तो उतना एक्स्ट्रा मिलेगा, 50 पैसा एक्स्ट्रा मिलेगा फॉर दिस 20,000 आवर्स. एंड फॉर वीकेंड्स द टाइम double the time 1.50 का double 3 rupees, so 10,000 to 30. You are required to compute and explain how overtime is treated in each of the following circumstances. So different circumstances में overtime कैसे calculate होगा. Number 1, when overtime is worked regularly throughout the year as company policy due to labor shortage. अगर labor shortage के हिसाब से कंपनी के पॉलिसी के हिसाब से अगर चल रहे तो इसका ट्रीटमेंट क्या होगा. सेकेंड, वेयर ओवरटाइम इज वर्क इरेगुलरली टू मीट अर्जेंट प्रोडक्शन रिक्वायरमेंट फ्रॉम टाइम टू टाइम. अगर ये अर्जेंसी है उसके लिए करना पड़ रहा है लेकिन ये बार बार हमें ही करना पड़ रहा है, तो ऐसे केसेस में इसका ट्रीटमेंट क्या होगा. एंड वेयर ओवरटाइम इज वर्क स्पेसिफिकली एट द कस्टमर्स रिक्वेस्ट फॉर क्विकर डिलीवरी. अगर कस्टमर ने डिमांड किया है और उसके लिए हमें उसको टाइम जल्दी करना पड़ेगा, तो ऐसे सर्कमस्टेंसेस के लिए इसको कैसे ट्रीट करने का. सो दिस इज एन इलस्ट्रेशन. आई एम कीपिंग इट इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू so we'll able to answer it well. So very first thing we need to do is to understand the question. This question is related to overtime. And what is the basic time? The amount which company is already giving is time rate. We can say it is as a time rate. I am mentioning your solution. So first of all we must know the time rate. So what is a time rate? So already given rupees 1.50 per hour. This is the given information. What about the overtime rates? If we perform overtime, what is the rate for overtime? So first is if we are doing overtime at evening, so the rate will be your regular time plus 1/3, 1/3. 1/3 of your time. So that means we can show it like this: 1.50 plus 1/3 into 1.50. So 1.50 का 1/3 करेंगे तो this is your 1.50 plus 0.50. plus 0.50. So we'll get it rupees 2. So this rupees 2 per hour as a evening time overtime. What about weekends? So in case of weekends, the charges will be double the time rate. So at weekends, double the time. And this doubling the time means 1.50 into 2. It will be rupees 3 per hour. So we can have evening time as well as weekend time overtime rate. But at the same time, we need to calculate the overtime premium. So overtime period premium in case of evening will be actual amount after overtime charges is 2 rupees, and before overtime it is 1.50. That means 0.50 rupees 0.50 per hour is your overtime premium. Similarly, we can calculate it for all weekend days. So it will become 3 rupees minus 1.5. So you will get 1.50 per hour as a overtime premium. Now we must calculate the year's result. We have the question in front of us. So normal time given, two lakh 20,000, 2,20,000 hours. That has to be multiplied by the normal rate, which is 1.50. So we'll get it rupees 3,30,000. We should use calculator for doing this. Then in case of overtime for evening, evening time, there are 20,000 hours to do work into 2 rupees, and it will become rupees 40,000. And then weekends. In weekend time will be for 10,000 hours at the rate of 3 per hour. So the amount will become 30,000. Total of all of this is number of hours worked 2,50,000 at different rate, and the amount will be 330, 370, 4 lakhs. So amount will be rupees 4 lakh So if we want to get the average rate of wages, we must get it through the actual amount of cost. Actual cost of labor cost is 4 lakhs divided by number of hours worked 2,50,000. So we get it rupees 1.60 per hour as a average rate of wages. This is how need to be calculated. So the area which need to cover is the time overtime rate, which is of evening time, and what is of weekend time. Now the question we need to answer first, where overtime is worked regularly throughout the year as company policy due to labor shortage. Okay, so we need to answer these questions. What if we are doing this cost as a company's policy? I'm writing over here in front of this. So first point A, in case overtime becomes a part of So in case overtime becomes a part of labor cost, job is to be debited with an job is to be debited with an inflated rate that is average rate inflated rate or average rate of 160 instead of basic wage rate of rupees 1.50 per hour. This is answer for your first thing. Second, we want to brought up this, where overtime is worked irregularly to meet urgent production requirement from the time to time. If the overtime is doing as a urgent, so in this case job is to be debited job is be debited at rupees 1.50 per hour, and overtime premium is to be calculated as 0.50 or 150 depending upon the evening or weekend. Then overtime premium cost to be debited to factory overheads. Then overtime premium, that's why I calculated it different way. Overtime premium is to be debited overtime premium is to be debited to factory overhead account. So I'm taking this line So I mentioned this line where overtime is worked specially at the customer's request. In case of customer's request, the whole job and the charges has to be debited to customers. So both the basic wages and overtime. So in case both the basic wages and overtime premium are to be debited to job and finally charged to customer, because he's the one who asked for that leverage. He demanded it. So, and charge to customers. So I'm mentioning over here that this was a first illustration which states that how to calculate overtime premium, and we overall calculated the total cost and find out the average cost. Okay, and this average cost is also called as the inflated rate, which inflated rate due to averaging, because it was earlier 1.50 per unit. Now it's become 1.60. Now the next concept, we are moving ahead with the idle time. Idle time is the time lost during which the worker does not work. That is, he is idle. However, still the worker has to be paid the wages even for such idle time. Thus, it is a double loss for the concern. Our organization is losing it twice. It should be noted that idle time does not include the period the worker is on leave or weekly off, etc. This is a different concept. Listen, the idle time is that time when worker visited your premises and not able to work because due to the organizational flaws. Organization has failed to provide him material, machinery, or any kind of services, and where there is a problem through point of view of organizations. So here the worker is not in a fault, and the reasons may be, okay, the causes, or we can say that reasons. So idle time must be controlled, reduced, and eliminated to control the cost of labor, and production control of idle time involves the following steps. Number one, record idle time. First, we need to record. Okay, it is necessary to record idle time, which job on job card separately or idle time record. We should maintain that. Then identify and classify the causes, the reason behind it. Okay, why this idle time was happened? We need to identify this thing first. Like production cost, it might be the chances production cost cover as a machine breakdown, power failure, waiting for tools or material, anything which is not being able to provided by organization fails to provide him. So that need to be understand under the production cost. Or second will be the administrative cost. Administrative cost cover the poor planning, strikes or lockout, and other one will be economic causes like depression, as we know the pandemic of 2020. So virus, so due to coronavirus the economic slowdown and everywhere the issues were there. So this kind of things are not fault of the workers, and here organization needs to bear that cost, and for bearing this cost it has to suffer the double losses. One is there is no production but still need to pay the remuneration, or you can say labor cost. How to resolve this? We should take a action. Like in case of production cost for machine breakdown, we need to maintain that machineries, or the power failure, we should have that backup. Okay, or waiting for work or tools or material, we need to manage our material system, stock management system, like economic order quantity and all other we studied in material cost. As per administrative causes, we need to take a action against a poor planning, or the organization's industrial relationship between the management and the workers, that should not be strike or lockout should not be taken place in the organization. So here we need a cordial relationship. In case of economic causes, in idle time we can control some extent, okay, by long-term planning or diversification of product, but whole part is not under the control. In case of normal idle time and abnormal idle time, so idle times are subdivided or segregated in normal idle time and abnormal idle time. Normal idle time is the time lost in walking from the gate to the place of the work, tea or a lunch break, time taken to set up, start the machine, waiting for material, tool or instructions, interval between two jobs, etc. It is also called unavoidable idle time, which cannot be avoidable. जब हमें वहां पे टाइम जाने वाला है तो जाने ही वाला है. सपोज वर्कर्स का पंचिंग हम लोग गेट पे कर रहे हैं और वहां से लेकर उसको एक्चुअल फैक्ट्री के मशीनरी के ऊपर पहुंचने के लिए अगर 5-10 मिनट डेली जा रहा है, सो हीज आवर्स दैट शुड नॉट बी considered as abnormal idle time, that it will be regular normal idle time. And the treatment, accounting treatment, so the accounting treatment for idle time depend on their avoidable or unavoidable. So unavoidable or normal idle time is treated as part of employee cost while arriving at the labor rate hours. And now abnormal idle time. Abnormal idle time is the time lost due to non-availability of raw materials, breakdown of machine, power failure, strike or lockout in factory, fire, floods, etc. These are avoidable events. We can avoid them by well planned, well organized. Okay, so this has to be should not be taken place. And if it is happened due to abnormal idle time, so abnormal idle time is treated as an exceptional item and charged directly to the costing profit and loss account. As per cost accounting standard 7, idle time cost shall be assigned direct to the cost object or treated as overhead depending on the economic feasibility and the specific circumstances causing such idle time. Cost of idle time for reason anticipated like normal lunch time, holiday, etc. is normally loaded in the employee cost while arriving at the cost per hour of an employee, a group of employees whose time is attributed direct to cost object. So in case of idle time, we need to understand the concept of normal idle time and abnormal idle time. Normal idle time is considered as unavoidable idle time, which cannot be avoided. So that will be considered as a labor cost. And abnormal idle time should be considered as non-availability of material or debited to costing P&L. So we need to understand the concept. Again, non-availabilities examples are machine breakdown, power failure, material supply losses, and which should be debited to costing P&L. So next lecture, we will continue with the illustration of idle time. Till now, goodbye. So till then, we'll revise this concept and we'll try to focus the earlier concept well.